Welcome to Mary Walter Radio. How are you? I am Mary Walter, and James is here. Yay! How are
Hello.
you?
I'm great. How are
Hi.
you? I'm good.
Good. Missed you last week.
I know. It stunk. I didn't like not being here.
Is your back better?
My back is, yeah, you can see I'm a little fidgety, but yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. All right.
I'm better now. I'm driving a car, so we'll go with that. We'll take that for the win.
What you heard it trying to be a roadie? Is that what happened?
Yeah, there's a little of that. I call it being old and doing young people jobs. That's what happens when you're old and you do jobs that 20-year-olds are supposed to be doing in the business, but you do it yourself. And you're like, hey, it's
Yeah.
great stuff.
So maybe time
Great
for a
stuff.
little bit of a career change there.
Could be. Although today I did that today for the Wounded Warriors, and that was nice. It's always nice to help those guys out.
How do you
I
say
know.
no to the? You can't say no to the wounded warriors. You know what I mean?
No, I met a real frogman today, an actual Navy UDT guy from the Korean War. This guy was
Oh.
left of death, and still, when I was on the morning show with Don Williams, he was doing the event today, and I went out and did the remote for him, which it's a fun volunteer thing. I'll do that all day long for those guys, or any of
Right.
those. This is actually my Marine Law Enforcement Foundation shirt. Thank you. They're such nice people too. But anyway, um, yeah, so we meet this frogman who's just there playing golf. He's got to be 90 and couldn't have been a nicer fella.
And he's
But
playing
when
golf.
he was playing golf, and when
Wow.
we asked him about Incheon. If anybody's know what Incheon is, that's a battle in the Korean War where guys like him, I know what they did, but we wanted to ask him what they did. And he's like, no, I was told to keep that secret. I'll take it to my grave. So I'm sure it's declassified what he did, but he's taken that secret to his grave anyway and not talking about it like a
Wow.
real quiet professional. It was
Wow.
mind blowing.
They don't
Yeah,
make
he
them
was
like
a.
that anymore. There's
Uh,
nobody can keep a secret anymore. Everybody leaks everything if they think it's, politically expedient.
I don't think for a minute he couldn't have slit my throat and Don's throat had one of us gone for him. I don't think for a minute, even at his advanced age, that he clearly was all there and like that sharp Navy SEAL. Because anybody know UDTs are frogmen? They were the precursors to the Navy SEAls.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, he was just.
Wow.
You just know when you meet a guy like that oh, this guy's that. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he was fantastic.
Yep.
Really neat guy, Norman.
So Al says he's first. Ron is here, and Bill wants to know why do we care about the royal family? They really have no power. Yeah, but the women get to wear tiaras and crowns, and so I'm in. That's pretty
Yeah,
much
makes
what it
sense.
is for me.
I like tiaras. I like crowns. I like pretty
Yeah,
dresses.
there you
I'm
go.
in.
I'm
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
We missed you last week, as I said. I do not know if I'll be here next week. Yeah, I'm kind of this way about it, not 100% sure. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I will try to put it out on social media if we're going to be here. I will do my best. All right. So I'm going to be away. So I will do my best. And of course, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do. Please like the podcast. Please tell your friends about it. As always, at the end of the show, I'll run upstairs and I will put the links into all of the stories that we talk about today during the show. I will do that. And in October, we will be launching a new podcast, getting all of that ready, got some pretty graphics for it. James is working on some sound for it, and he sent me a bunch of stuff. And I have to send you a bunch of stuff too, as far as music goes. And so we got a lot going on. So that's exciting. Went to a great wedding over the weekend.
Ooh,
I've never heard of this place before. Have you heard of the Union League in Philadelphia?
no. And I'm a Philly guy.
Yeah. So there's this place
Hmm.
called the Union League in Philly, and it's right just a couple blocks from City Hall on
Okay.
Broad Street. On Broad
All
Street.
right.
It's a beautiful building on the corner of Sansom.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sure.
It's
Samson
like
and
a
Broad.
reddish kind of old building, right?
I've
And
probably seen it.
my college roommate's daughter got married, and she obviously, my roommate went to Villanova, and her husband went to Villanova, and we've all kept in touch. And so we were invited to the wedding, and we actually stayed at the Union League. This place is a club. You have to be invited to join, you have to have references. It's one of those type places, but it was founded to support the Union during the Civil War.
Huh.
And they have the podium that Abraham Lincoln gave his Gettysburg Address from.
How do I not know about this place? That's
I
amazing.
know, right? So we went searching, we went wandering around because we stayed overnight there, wandering around to find the podium. And we found somebody said, "Oh, that's currently being loaned out to a museum." But we went downstairs where everywhere you turn, there's all of this history. I probably should have uploaded pictures. Maybe I'll do that next time. I'll upload pictures in this place. There's a huge portrait of George Washington that was painted in the 1860s. They have a Hall
Wow,
of Presidents. The Hall of Presidents is only Republican presidents.
that's neat.
It was the coolest place ever. It was just so cool, full of history and the architecture everywhere. This grand staircase, and there's this huge stained glass window, and it's Saint Michael, the archangel. Everywhere
Nice.
you go, there's this huge portrait. The staircase we took to get to our room, the huge portrait of General Meade from the Civil War. Tons of Civil War stuff. They had music from the Civil War. They had handwritten letters. It just was insane, the stuff that they had there. And we're just partying in among all this stuff. Like the architecture in the rooms, the ceilings were easily like a story and a half high. Everything is just wood everywhere. There's a smoking bar in there, and then across it just was insane. It was absolutely insane. And it was very grand, and I loved the grandeur, but I was way more into the history than I was anything else. I'm such a dork. Such a
Yeah,
dork.
I
Such a
would have been.
dork.
And there's something neat about partying amongst what feels like our ancestors partying, right? Like being in the kind of building,
Yeah.
like they could have been there doing the same thing you were doing 100 years
Right.
ago without
Hmm.
blinking. You know, I love stuff like that. Yeah,
More than 100 years ago. I think it's
yeah, 200 years ago. Yeah.
1861, 1860, somewhere in
Wow.
there.
Yeah, yeah,
But
100.
like I said, they were formed to support the Union, Civil War.
Wow,
So cool.
crazy.
And I love that they only have Republican presidents in the Hall of Presidents. To
That's
this
funny.
day, hilarious. But I noted that Trump was not there. Like, where's
Hmm.
Trump?
Maybe he hasn't made it yet. Maybe they just haven't. It takes a process.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe, but I thought that was super. So it was super cool. So we just wandered around because apparently, if you remember, you can just wander through the
Hey,
place. So
that's awesome.
yeah. So it was very cool. So okay, let's start off with some news. You heard Mike Lindell. I've got to pull up the secondary story. Mike Lindell, was raided by the FBI. Did you see that?
Or captured at a Hardee's.
Yeah, captured at a Hardee's, right?
Apparently on the run from chicken.
It's ridiculous. He was served a federal subpoena on Tuesday, and his phone was seized by federal agents. He posted a video online, and he claimed the FBI agents approached him after he ordered food at a Hardee's. The secondary story here is that there still are actually Hardee's somewhere in this country, right? In Mankato, Minnesota, Patrick McSweeney is an attorney for Lindell. He confirmed in an email to CBS News that the subpoena was served and Lindell's cell phone was confiscated. They're just confiscating everyone's cell phones. They are trying to mop up as much evidence, I think, as they possibly can that could possibly blow back on the FBI or the DOJ or any of the rest of them. So they're doing everything they can to mop up any kind of information that could be out there that they possibly can. And that's just me.
I would need to see at the end of this rainbow for him definitely charged with some kind of fraud, some kind of big white collar crime at the very least, or this is really bad. You know what I mean? Like if something ends up coming out, which by the way I'm not saying it is because I haven't heard anything and they've not said a word, but I'm just saying if something does come out and we find out, okay, he's really a criminal. Okay, but only that. That's it. At this point,
can't be some stupid little thing. It's got to be big.
No.
It's got to be bigger than our government putting Igor Danchenko, a foreign spy, on the payroll of the FBI to spy on Trump for 3 years. He was on the payroll of the FBI for 3 years. A foreign
you probably shouldn't allow that.
Spy. So that they could protect him then, because he's an informant for the FBI. Mm-hmm.
That sounds like how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, it's got to be bigger than that. If it's something like Trump didn't pay all his taxes or he inflated property value or something like that,
yeah, then that's again real heavy-handed, right? I don't.
You think?
Yeah. Well, look, I said I didn't have a problem with the FBI even going to Trump's Mar-a-Lago, but they didn't need 40 agents to do it, and 90 trucks and a tank.
Yep. Yeah. So
there wasn't going to be a gunfight.
Lindell, though, announced today that he was on Steve Bannon's War Room radio show, and he announced that he has assembled a team of lawyers. He's suing the United States government. He said he amassed a team of some of the best lawyers in the country, including Alan Dershowitz, Andrew Parker, Kurt Olson. I don't know who Andrew Parker and Kurt Olson are. I know who Dershowitz is. We are suing the United States government and the FBI. This isn't just to get the phone back. This is my First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights were broken. We aren't going to put up with this. We aren't going to be the Gestapo like in Nazi Germany. We're being proactive. I was on the phone with these attorneys and I said, I want to sue. We have all the lawyers on the phone. They looked at all these statutes. We're going to go places that no man has gone before. This will set a precedent. This has to stop. So he says, nobody gets to bash people's doors down and you get 40 seconds to answer your door. Nobody gets to corner and take a phone away of a private citizen, their company phone and their hearing aids and everything else. Everything I had was in that phone, all of my business. This has to stop and we're going to do it. So I hope he does.
Yeah.
I hope he does because it's out of control. Out of control. I'm waiting for the knock on my door. I'm waiting for that. Trump has never gotten Al says Trump has never gotten as much. Okay. Trump has never gotten as much as a speeding ticket. He's the cleanest man alive. I think Al's right so far because if they had anything on him, it would have already been out.
Well, it's like they didn't arrest him, right? They just seized his phone at a Hardee's. Like
the documents posted by Mike Lindell. He put the documents up. There's a page titled "Items to be Seized," and they read that the physical cellular telephone assigned to call number redacted Lindell's cell phone and all records and information on the Lindell cell phone that constitutes fruits, evidence of, or instrumentalities of identity theft, as well as intentional damage to a protected computer and or conspiracy to commit identity theft and or cause to cause intentional damage to a protected computer.
So, but they didn't arrest him? Why would they not arrest him if those are those sound like charges I would get arrested for? I can imagine they let me just walk around after I commit some kind of computer identity fraud.
Well,
they'd arrest me and take me to jail.
These aren't charges. This is what they're looking for. Evidence things.
Oh, so they're not charging him with anything. They're just thinking that's what he might have.
Right. And if it's a letter in reference to the grand jury subpoena from the U.S. Department from the DOJ reads that an official criminal investigation of a felony is being conducted by an agency of the United States and a federal grand jury in the District of Colorado. As a subpoena recipient, you are not under an obligation of secrecy. The letter essentially asking that the letter not be disclosed, so he put it online. However, we request that you do not disclose the existence of this subpoena for an indefinite period of time. Although the law does not require non-disclosure unless a court order is issued, we believe that the impact of any disclosure could be detrimental to the investigation. The DOJ has issued subpoenas to more than 40 Trump supporters to show that they attempted to stage a coup to keep Trump in office after 2020. So basically, because Mike Lindell was one of those vocal people about the Dominion voting systems and all that other stuff, and apparently that is now a crime in this country. You can't say.
Well, I don't know. Hold on. Maybe he was hiring a shadow army. We don't know.
That's true.
FBI might know that he was hiring a shadow army and had ties to North Korean mobsters or something. Maybe, and he was building a thing to help facilitate Trump, and it just didn't happen. And now, they're
right. There you go.
Because that's realistic, right?
My husband just texted me because I've met Mike Lindell a bunch of times. My husband's met him and stuff. And He said, I just realized I have Mike Lindell's phone number in my contacts. We better wear clothes to bed since the FBI may be here.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
Saying you're in his contact list. I think about wearing PJs, I think about it.
But yeah, but see, I don't think my name's in his contact list. I don't know if we exchange cell phone numbers.
Oh, I'm so sorry for you, sir. I didn't know that you're going to end up in jail today. But,
I don't know if we exchanged phone numbers or not. All right, well. Listen, they're going to be here eventually anyway, I figure, because the other thing here is Facebook, let's see, witch hunt fishing trip. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what's going on, Squeaky Ron. Let's see. We want payback. The same 4 a.m. raids, the same leg irons and cuffs, according to Signal Not Noise over on Getter. I think he's right. I think people on the right want to see some kind of retribution, some kind of, my light's really bright, some kind of, tit for tat. You do it to our guys, it's time to do it to them when we get in power. And I know that's a terrible thing, but I think sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to hand it out. You've got to hand back what you get. I'm not going to throw I'll never launch the first grenade, but I'll return it.
I've watched you fight. I agree with that statement.
Are you afraid of me?
Oh, 100%. You, the 90-year-old man. Yeah, there's a few people, but you're one. Yeah. I pick my fights with you very carefully because I know it's going to be long, drawn out, and you're not going down easy if you're going down. You're going until death.
I am. I will, like I said, I don't launch the first grenade.
No.
But I will, if you cross me, like if you hurt me, like purposely cross me to screw me over, it never leaves my brain.
No, yeah. Yeah, I believe that.
It will take me years to get even with you, but I will. And you'll never know if it was me. You might suspect it was me, but you'll never know.
You're living that dish best served cold motto, which is great, by the way. That's the way to do it. When they're not thinking about it, those people who can't control their emotions and have to I'll get you now. That's no fun. Let that pain wait.
Like when the FBI calls me and asks me if I know anything about your business practices, don't be surprised if I tell them to hold on while I go get the folder of stuff that I kept waiting for this day. I've done that. And he went to jail.
Yeah, it's who I'm thinking of, yeah.
There's two that did that too.
I believe that.
Both who worked in radio at one point in the game.
Yeah, well, there's no savages in radio, so.
People in radio are awful. It was coercion that started the Civil War. All right. Al knows a lot about the Civil War. I know that. Okay. So the reason, besides the fact that, I've met Mike Lindell a bunch of times and my husband's name is in his cell phone. Great. Is that Facebook, according to whistleblowers, Facebook has been spying on the private messages. Those messages on Facebook that you send to each other, you can message. I never thought those were private anyway. I figured Facebook is reading all them anyway. I never thought that those were private.
Yeah.
The private messages and data of American users, and they're reporting them to the FBI if they found to express anti-government or anti-authority sentiments, or if they questioned the 2020 election.
In Messenger.
How many Democrats said that Trump was an illegitimate president? Right?
Yeah.
How many Democrats did that? Because the Russians swung the election for him in 2016. That was fine. 4 years later, if you question the legitimacy of the 2020 election, the FBI is breaking down your door. Why? When did that happen? Why is it okay for Democrats but not Republicans?
Well, forget that. Why is Facebook even involved in either party? Why is it even? Exactly. What stake does Facebook have in reading people's? Look, I understand they're reading the messengers and stopping legitimate terrorist threats because they found out Al-Qaeda, well, whatever. Those people sell talking about bombing a Empire State Building. I'm great. Turn it over.
Right.
But what do you care? Why do you care if two people want to talk about what happened during an election? You and I can't fight on Messenger anymore about the election,
Oh my gosh! All those.
See what I mean? Like that's the implication.
Facebook read all of them.
Right.
Oh, they're coming after us again. You're going through, James.
Oh. I think they cheat every 4 years.
Okay. Under the FBI collaboration operation, somebody at Facebook red flagged these supposedly subversive private messages over the past 19 months and transmitted them in redacted form to the Domestic Terrorism Operational Unit at FBI headquarters in D.C. without a subpoena.
Right. They just said, here you go.
Totally illegal. According to one of the sources who spoke on condition of anonymity, it was done outside the legal process and without probable cause. Facebook provides the FBI with private conversations which are protected by the First Amendment without any subpoena. These private messages then have been farmed out as leads to FBI field offices around the country, which subsequently requested then subpoenas from the U.S. Attorney's Office. So they used the illegally gotten messages to then you get a subpoena from the U.S. Attorney's Office in their district to officially obtain the private conversations that Facebook had already shown them.
Now, before I and I'm legitimately asking because I don't know, so I'm not trying to be controversial in any way. I really don't know the answer to this. Are we sure there's not something in their disclaimer that says, "Hey," like if I'm bringing this up because if you don't know what's in what you sign when you sign up for TikTok, you should read the TikTok thing because
that's why I'm literally not on it. Yep.
Right. They tell you they're taking everything. Right. So the Facebook hasn't covered their own ass and made sure there's something in their terms of agreement that says, "Hey, we can read your messengers stuff and use it as data." And I don't know. I would have thought they'd be smarter than that.
According to a whistleblower from Facebook, or from the DOJ, I think this is, or the FBI, and maybe it's FBI. These were gotten without subpoenas, and that apparently is wrong, according to this whistleblower. So,
the implication is God without subpoenas means they don't have an agreement,
right?
Yeah, okay.
Because we've seen them on subpoena information from Facebook in the past, so they must have to subpoena it. When the targeted Facebook users were investigated by agents in a local FBI field office, sometimes using covert surveillance techniques, nothing criminal or violent showed up. Shocking. Trump supporters aren't violent. I'm shocked. Who knew? Who knew? Hold on, I got a cat eye in the door. You going outside? What's going on? Oh. Up. Husband just, there he goes. Husband's off to his Coast Guard meeting. I hope that door's locked. Okay, so they nothing criminal or violent turned up. It was a waste of our time. One source familiar with the subpoena requests said the Facebook users whose private communications Facebook had red flagged as domestic terrorism for the FBI were all conservative right-wing individuals. They were gun-toting, red-blooded Americans who were angry after the election and shooting off their mouths and talking about staging protests. There was nothing criminal, nothing about violence or massacring or assassinated anyone. As soon as the subpoena was requested, within an hour, Facebook sent back gigabytes of data and photos. They were ready to go. They were just waiting for the legal process so they could send it out. Facebook denied the allegations yesterday. Let's see. Erica Sacken is a spokesperson of Facebook's parent company, Meta. Here's what she said. And she claims that the interactions with the FBI were designed to protect people from harm. Isn't it nice that they're protecting us from ourselves?
Of course. I mean, we might say the wrong thing and hurt ourselves.
Right, exactly. They want to protect us from ourselves. God, they love me so much. So her first statement, she said, these claims are false because they reflect a misunderstanding of how our systems protect people from harm and how we engage with law enforcement. We carefully scrutinize all government requests for user information to make sure they're legally valid and narrowly tailored, and we often push back. We respond to legal requests for information in accordance with applicable law and our terms, and we provide notice to users whenever permitted. But then 64 minutes later, she puts out an amended statement. And she switches. And she says she goes from the claims are false to these claims are wrong. So first she said they were false. Now she says they're wrong. The suggestion we seek out people's private messages for anti-government language or questions about the validity of past elections and then proactively supply those to the FBI is plainly inaccurate, and there is zero evidence to support it. Well, of course, I'm sure they've gotten rid of all the evidence, and the FBI ain't going to show you the evidence. That disappeared a long time ago because they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing. In a statement yesterday, the FBI neither confirmed nor denied the allegation. The statement focused, here's what the statement said. The FBI maintains relationships with U.S. private sector entities, including social media providers. The FBI has provided companies with foreign threat indicators. Threat indicators to help them protect their platforms and customers from abuse by foreign malign influence actors. U.S. companies have also referred information to the FBI with investigative value relating to foreign malign influence. But that's not what happened, according to the whistleblowers.
Yeah, I'm all for you stopping bots and the troll farms. Great. Get all those. Mm-hmm. But I'm missing where that connects to you and I having a conversation and it getting flagged because one of us is questioning something about an election or whatever. I'm saying it seems real stretch from we're going after bots and foreign agitators to
right.
right.
Facebook,
It's silly.
Facebook's, and they say here, Facebook's denial that it proactively provides the FBI with private user data without a subpoena or search warrant, if it's true, would indicate that the initial transfer, remember they initially transferred stuff and then the FBI went and got the subpoena?
Yeah.
That the initial transfer has been done by a person or persons at the company, at Facebook, designated as a confidential human source by the FBI, someone with the authority to access and search users' private messages. In this way, Facebook would have plausible deniability then if questions arose about misuse of users' data, and its employees' confidentiality would be protected then by the FBI. See, so they protect themselves.
Wow.
Yep. It's a DOJ source. One of the DOJ sources said before any subpoena was sought, that information had already been provided to FBI headquarters. The lead already contained specifics of the information inside the user's private messages. Some of it was redacted, but most of it was not. They basically had a portion of the conversation and they would skip the next portion. So it was the most egregious parts that were highlighted and taken out of context and sent to the FBI. But when you read the full conversation in context after they issued the subpoena, it didn't sound bad. It didn't sound as bad. There was no plan or orchestration to carry out any kind of violence. People who had posted photos of themselves shooting guns together and bitching about what happened after the 2020 election. Those people were targeted. Facebook and FBI were looking for conservative right-wing individuals. Not one was an Antifa type. The DOJ sources decided to speak to the Post, risk their careers, because they are concerned that federal law enforcement has been politicizing and is abusing the constitutional rights of innocent Americans. And they say there are more whistleblowers ready to join them. The other thing, the users were never notified.
Right. So all that was BS.
Right. So they may have had a little walk through our conversations and said, wow, these two are boring. And they bicker like an old married couple.
Right.
All right, more news. You
Right.
probably have, huh?
No, I'm just laughing. That's exactly what they were like. Never mind, it's an old married couple. They're fine.
Exactly. They got to be in their
There's subversion here. Yeah.
Okay, more news you probably haven't heard. Okay, so Joe Biden went to go vote in Delaware. Did you see he had to fly to Delaware? It's like the most expensive vote ever cast because apparently he didn't apply for an absentee ballot.
Good to know he's on top of that and has a staff that can keep it together for him.
What the hell are they doing? That's it. Don't worry about it. He'll just fly to Delaware. American taxpayers will pay for the gas and everything and the security and the motorcade and everything else. He'll go cast his ballot and then we'll just bring him back. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. Well, there was a new vote by mail law that was enacted in Delaware earlier this summer, and it was just ruled unconstitutional by a judge yesterday. So Delawareans
Go with it.
will not be able to vote by mail in the November 8th election. The vice chancellor, the judge, ruled that the law, which allowed Delaware voters to vote by mail in the general election without providing a reason for doing so, violates a provision in Delaware's constitution. That provision provides general laws for absentee voting, like if you're sick, physical disability, like Biden, I'm not going to be in Delaware, those types of things, just like New Jersey always did, right? Before it was a ballot palooza and it was a free for all. You had to provide a reason. You had to send away for your absentee ballot. You had to think ahead, and you got your absentee ballot. You voted, right? I've done that before.
Right.
Well, the judge said, I must find that the vote by mail statute is unconstitutional for purposes of the general election. Democrat lawmakers in the state had introduced the vote by mail bill earlier this year. So you don't need a reason. Anybody gets a ballot. Anybody who wants one gets one. We'll send it to you. But they didn't get enough Republican support to amend the Constitution. They have to amend the Constitution of the state. Republicans do it. So Democrats are like, well, fine, we'll just pass the bill then. There you go. We'll go around the Constitution. And because they would have needed 2/3 of the vote in order to amend the state's Constitution. The judge said once the amendment to the Delaware Constitution failed to obtain the necessary 2/3 approval, the General Assembly passed the vote by mail statute that is the subject of this litigation less than 3 weeks later by a simple majority approval. So the judge said, no. Not
going to happen.
Not going to happen. So nice try by the Democrats, but Yeah, they're not going to do that. So that's good. Okay.
But Joe Biden did get to play in a Corvette. That was cool.
Did you see him try to get out of it? Did you see the video of him trying to get out of the Corvette? First of all, may I just say, Corvettes are I'm sorry if you own a Corvette. I'm sorry if you manufacture Corvettes. They are the most uncomfortable cars in the world. They're uncomfortable to ride in. Unless, I mean, granted, the last time we had a Corvette was, and it wasn't ours, it was Doug's sister and her husband's, and he didn't like driving it, so he just let us drive it for a summer. And it was in the 90s. I want to say it was in the 90s.
Okay.
It was a very uncomfortable car to ride in. You could not go long distances in that thing. And I was a kid back then, and it was uncomfortable. So, but watching Joe Biden get out of that car was hilarious. How the hell they got him in there? I'm sure it was one of those, like when I take Rhoda places, Rhoda just kind of like falls into the car. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to need a bouncer to get her out. I'm going to need like a big man to just like wrap his arms around her, like a fireman to like lift her out of the car. And that's, I have to push. Somebody's got to pull you to get her out. How did they think they were going to get Joe Biden out of that car?
And why did they film it?
It's for our entertainment. At least I'm getting something for my money.
I agree with you. I'm just saying, you think like, there's kind of things you should keep top secret, and maybe the fact that you can barely get out of a car. Yeah, FDR might have been onto something. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? Like, just, I mean, maybe he should not. He should think about looking at the car in private and not getting that on film, so we don't, the rest of the world doesn't go, hey, the commander-in-chief, can't even make it to the button.
Well, if his visiting nurse was there, and I think she was with him, she probably knows the hold to get him out of the, out of the car. Just the way she gets him out of the chair and everything else, So that's why Dr. Jill.
I am Nancy, your nurse. Let me get you out of the chair.
Dr. Jill's got some big muscles.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Visiting nurse. Okay. So I talked about, maybe it was a show I did this week. I don't know. Everything gets mushed together. Maybe we talked about this last week. I don't know. I do so many different shows and stuff. I can't keep up. But more than 100 Republican representatives signed letters to the CEOs of Visa, MasterCard, and Amex yesterday, asking them why they flip-flopped and now support recategorizing gun sale merchant codes, which gun sales that they plan to flag as suspicious. So the credit card companies have been bullied, or I don't know how they did it, but somehow they're now agreed to a new code just for gun sales. Previously, gun sales were under under sporting supplies. And so that could be a tent, it could be this, it could be that. Sporting supplies. You get your credit card, you get your bill. Sporting supplies. Okay. Yeah. Now it'll say gun sale on it. Right? So Visa's decision. First, MasterCard and Amex decided to do it, then Visa. And this comes from pressure from Kathy Hochul in New York State and Gabby Gifford's gun control group and other this comes from because gun control groups want this done. More than so the representatives just responded to this yesterday with this letter, and they point out that originally they all opposed the idea of recategorizing merchant codes as recently as last year. Something's changed. I don't know what that is. But
I'm missing the justification for why you would want the code on a credit card bill. The government already knows you're buying the guns. Like, this sounds more like, is this going to end up on your credit score somehow? Or is a bank going to be able to look at a loan and find out you bought 10 guns?
Well, the premise for it is so that the credit card companies can report to the federal government any suspicious transactions. And not in every state do you have to register a weapon. So in some states like New Jersey, you have to get your permit, you have to get the weapon. They know everything you're doing in New Jersey, but not in every state. This is a way of now knowing in the states that are freer exactly what you're doing. Right. So that's what they're trying to do.
Right.
It's a de facto national gun registry, which is what they want, but they can't legally have. So this is a way of obtaining that through the back door.
This is a neat backdoor way to do that. I did not think of it that way. That's pretty smart.
Yeah, the lawmakers noted that the ISO, the group that's in charge of this, International Organization for Standardization, noted that it would the recategorization would unduly burden smaller firearms retailers. So again, if we can put a firearms retailer out of business, we're one step closer to disarming legal gun owners and making sure that only criminals have the guns, because that's pretty much what the game is at this point in the game. You
Why is
can't
it
have a
hurting? What's it?
what?
How is it hurting the? What's it doing to the small?
I don't know how, but they say last year the International Organization for Standardization said it would unduly burden smaller firearms retailers, which is why they were against it.
I wonder what that's about.
I don't know. Maybe it's
Yeah.
in the way they code it, maybe the way they bring up the sale, maybe they have to get new equipment. I don't know. I have
Oh,
no
it could
idea.
be that. Yeah, it could be a equipment problem. Yeah, maybe.
So they asked the credit card company CEOs how they plan to use the new categorization for the purpose of flagging suspicious gun purchases. What will make a gun purchase suspicious? The capacity of the gun's magazine, the caliber of the firearm, the presence of the letters AR or AK in the firearm's name. They also asked the CEOs if they've developed a plan to inform specific customers in the event that a gun purchased by a said customer has been flagged. Are you going to let them know? Probably not. You're probably not going to tell you anything, because when they're going to control you, they're not going to tell you. And they added, if not, why does American Express, Visa, and MasterCard not believe this notification is important to the consumer? So here's the thing. New York Attorney General Letitia James, she's a gem, said these credit card companies must now take the next step and flag suspicious transactions on gun and ammunition sales. Did you hear that?
I did.
I have no idea what that was. Well, I'm hoping it's a cat. If not, there's somebody in the house and somebody call 911.
Or a ghost, or the FBI. Oh,
Or
you're
the
getting
FBI.
raided. You're getting raided.
I'm sitting right by the front door, so far nobody. But they must flag suspicious transactions on gun and ammunition sales like they do for fraud and money laundering. Here's the deal. Fraud and money laundering are illegal activities. Buying a gun and or ammo is not. It is protected by the Constitution, but they're trying to criminalize it. So I thought that was interesting. All right. Speaking of guns, Hunter Biden.
Whoa, I don't know anything about hundreds of guns.
I know, and here's another story you probably haven't heard.
Gun running or holding one? I'm waiting on bated breath here. Go ahead.
It could be any of the above. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and now yet and explosives. So it's the ATFE. A judge ruled that that the ATF does not have to release records of purchases made by Hunter Biden. Gun purchases made by Hunter Biden. They don't have to release the records on that when he released records, which are believed to include a form that Hunter submitted while he purchased a firearm in 2018, according to U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras. There's a reporter in Ohio, David Codrea, and in 2020, he submitted a FOIA. He asked the ATF for all records related to the disappearance of a gun form from a vehicle owned by Hunter Biden. According to the Blaze and Politico, Hunter Biden's gun went missing in Delaware in 2018, but no charges were brought or arrests were made. ATF agents were said to have visited the shop from which Hunter bought the gun and got a copy of the file on the purchase. Secret Service agents were also reportedly involved. Mr. Codrea requests copies of law enforcement and administrative reports, communications, correspondence, work papers, including with internal state of Delaware DOJ, the Delaware State Police, and any local law enforcement and any relevant federal agencies, including ATF and the United States Secret Service, according to his lawyer, wrote in a FOIA request. This includes any case handling instructions from overseeing administrative authorities and or agencies that would explain why over 2 years later, there has still been no public report or explanation as to the way the case has been resolved and why. The ATF first sent a final response saying it couldn't locate any responsive records. Oops, we lost them. Sorry. Because, the Secret Service lost 2 years of records on Hunter Biden. They can't find them. I don't know where they are. They lost them. Poof. And yet when it comes to Trump, they find stuff that didn't even exist. The later said, though, that the search was an error because the subject of this particular records request is a third party and a private citizen. So I guess you can't request something if you're a private citizen? Is that what that is? It said the request should have been denied under exemptions outlined in FOIA. The ATF also said it could reconsider if Codrea represented more information or presented more information, and he did. So he presented more information, and he said the public interest outweighs Hunter Biden's privacy interests. But the judge disagreed. And he said no, that Hunter Biden's privacy. He said the privacy interest is remarkably strong here, and so he disregarded. He said the reporter said in an article that the judge disregarded evidence that indicates that Hunter Biden could not have legally purchased a handgun in Delaware without illegally denying documented controlled substance abuse on the form 4473 transfer record, which is a felony. But he says he can't afford to appeal the decision, so that's that. So we all know Hunter had to lie on the form to get the weapon legally. We all know that, right? We have the videos showing him sniffing with cocaine. I mean,
what's wrong with a little cocaine and some guns? I mean, I don't think people are being crazy.
The government does put them together, alcohol and
firearms. Yeah, it does. They really do. They really do.
It's like peanut butter and jelly. And lastly, on the gun front, Ohio teachers can now carry guns in classrooms. Do you think that's a good idea?
Not opposed to it if they're registered gun owners who know good firearm safety habits. I don't see a dilemma.
It's not statewide. The state's not making them do it. Each school district gets to decide for themselves. So I like that little home rule. Parents and the people who live can make that decision. I like that.
I don't think we can make teachers become armed policemen in schools, but I mean, if they have a carry permit and they want to carry, I mean, they're legal citizens. It's their right. I don't see the problem.
Well, schools are gun-free zones, which is why so many school shootings happen. In my humble opinion, Democrats are planning to introduce legislation to overturn this, of course, at the beginning of 2023.
Before you do, are the teachers the problem they're hunting down? They're the people shooting up the classrooms? I don't remember any teachers shooting up classrooms. I don't remember reading one of them in all these tragedies was the teacher that was shooting up the classroom.
Democrats can't risk having an armed teacher stop a school shooting. They can't risk it because you show guns being used properly, saving lives, and they can't have that. So,
because they're terrible, terrible things.
Right.
Not terrible people that use these things. And I don't agree with all the laws in all the states being what they are, but that's not, that's still, for Americans, they're guns.
Right.
That's part of our right.
The bill requires school staff who carry guns to undergo 24 hours of initial training at a minimum, 8 hours of recertification training every year. The Ohio School Safety Center is tasked with the training, and the bill has set aside $6 million for the training process. And they're currently coming up with a standardized training and things like that. They're going to go through the training. Why the hell not, right? If you're good and you're law abiding, and they will have to go undergo a background check every year. Okay. Personally, I think teachers should probably go undergo a background check, at least to find out if they're child molesters every year. Hear way too many stories like that. All right. Last but not least, I may do this in an hour. This is great. I'm trying.
I won't derail you.
My favorite story so far this week. What do you think it is?
Well, Hunter Biden one with the guns was pretty juicy, but
that was good. But my favorite story so far this week happened yesterday.
You talking about the Ron DeSantis busing planning the yeah.
You know me.
Yeah. I knew you'd like that one.
Story.
I had to dig in my head. I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah, it turns out a couple Democratic governors are pretty angry at that too. They're like, hey, you can't do that.
They're really upset that they didn't get any notice. We didn't get any notice. Weird how nobody phones ahead to Eagle Pass, Texas to say, by the way, I got 500 coming for dinner.
Did you hear Gavin Newsom wants the DOJ to take up charges against DeSantis and Abbott?
For what?
All kind of their kidnapping, coercion.
These people signed forms saying this is where I want to go. They're not stupid. They got these people to sign these forms saying, yep, this is where I want to go. And Joe Biden, they had no problem with Joe Biden flying flight after flight of illegals into all these suburbs in all around the country in the dark of night. These people were never told. These planes just landed in these airports that are normally closed, that are open for these unmarked flights, full of illegals that just disgorge and dump into these suburbs. So Crimea River, Martha's Vineyard, I think it is delicious. I love it. Favorite story.
That's pretty cool.
And they're so funny because this guy, Keith Chatnover, is a progressive county commissioner for Dukes County, Massachusetts, which is where Martha's Vineyard is. And he said, I would love Martha's Vineyard to become a haven for new immigrants to this country. And this is in a response to Senator Ted Cruz. He said, but Senator Cruz has no idea what he's talking about regarding a border crisis. This was last year. There's a border crisis. Guess what he's got now? This story, God, I love Ron DeSantis.
We would love to take him to Martha's Vineyard. There's just no room. So, maybe it was really inconvenient for us. And, we love to have him, but we just can't.
But it's really hard for them to get here. It's kind of hard. It's not a port of entry, it's far away from the border, but we would love it if they made it here. Sure. Absolutely. Vineyarders, this is what he said. Vineyarders support refugee resettlement. We just can't adequately help them when given no advance notice. He said the situation this is done to prove a point, and it's a blatant disregard for human rights. They got moved to Martha's Vineyard. Do you know how expensive it is to live on Martha's Vineyard? Holy Christmas. They got sent to one of the richest enclaves in the country. How is that abusive?
Look, it's inconvenient for us because we're rich and white and we're not used to handling these kind of problems. And now you're telling us we have to deal with foreigners? I mean, people we love and support?
Wait a minute. We only want brown people here to cut our lawns and take care of our gardens.
We're out of gardening positions right now. That's the real problem in Martha's Vineyard. We don't need any cooks. We don't need any gardeners right now. I'm sorry, but we don't have any room for people.
It's the off season, but if you come back in May.
Well, plenty of jobs for you then.
I just absolutely love this. They're so funny. Another one, Dylan Fernandez, who represents Martha's Vineyard, said he was part of the logistical effort to welcome the migrants. Pulling into Martha's Vineyard right now, an island that welcomes immigrants and is stronger and more vibrant because of them, he wrote in a series of tweets. We just want you to give us a notice. Currently, immigrants are being dropped off on Martha's Vineyard by chartered flights from Texas. Many don't know where they are. They say they were told they would be given housing and jobs. I'm sure they were told they would be given housing and jobs because you're a sanctuary enclave, a sanctuary island. Of course, you're going to be given housing in a sanctuary island, right? Islanders were given no notice, but we're coming together as a community to support them. I think that's great. And Democrats are trying to paint this as like, we're compassionate. We're coming together as a community. Yeah. Talk to me after like flight number 10. You got like 50 right now. Talk to me when you got 500. And then we'll see how good you like that, how that's going for you. These immigrants were not met with chaos. They were met with compassion. We are a community and nation that is stronger because of immigrants. The community coming together with water, food, interpretation help, and resources to support these families represent the best of America. I'm glad. Good. That's fantastic. Find them housing. Listen, Obama's got a huge compound. I'm sure he could set up tents on his lawn. Sure, he won't mind being compassionate,
Yeah, of course not.
Why not? Maybe they can get some jobs as cabana boys at Obama's. Here's the other thing. Did you see this one? This one took back seat to the Martha's Vineyard one, but this one is equally as good. 2 buses full of migrants from Del Rio, Texas, because some of these cities now, which are Democrat-run cities in Texas, are paying to run their own buses to these other places. And these are Democrats in these cities that are run by Democrats that are doing this now because they've had enough. Del Rio, Texas. Guess where they sent their 2 busloads of migrants?
Where?
They sent them to Kamala Harris's residence at the Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C.
Oh, no. Here you are. Say hello to your new friend.
Okay, so is this wrong, or is this just like varsity level trolling? I mean, this is delicious, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is fun. Right on her doorstep. That's pretty funny. I wonder if she came out and tried to like overly simply explain it like she does everything else.
Oh, she's
So
just a lot of
you are
words.
people from another country, and that's good. And people from another country sometimes come in with papers. And then sometimes people come in the country another way, maybe over a border.
She's such an idiot.
She makes my skin crawl. She's apparently incredibly intelligent, but it doesn't come
Who said
across.
she's incredibly intelligent? I've never heard that about her.
I assume she's a lawyer, smart, went to college.
Okay, Kim Kardashian's a lawyer or becoming a lawyer.
Touche. Good point.
Joe Biden's a
Good.
lawyer.
Good,
All right,
clearly.
there
Well,
you
yeah,
go.
but I don't think Biden's dumb. I think his brain presently is like this.
Focus.
Even if you don't
Yeah.
agree with him, I never thought he was dumb, but now I think his brain is.
Yeah, his brain broke.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
she does not seem wifty, and that seems shocking for a lawyer.
Over 100 people who were picked up in Eagle Pass were sent by Governor Greg Abbott. The group includes migrants from Venezuela, Uruguay, Colombia, Mexico. Multiple migrants were interviewed by Fox News Digital, and they said, "Oh yeah, the border's open." Remember Harris on Saturday in an interview said, "No, the border's closed." She was at the United We Stand summit hosted in the White House. Today she was at the United We Stand summit hosted in the White House, and as she walked out of the East Room after she spoke, a White House poll reporter asked her for comments on the recent arrival of migrants near her D.C. residence, and she looked at the reporter and just continued walking and didn't say anything. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
A representative from an NGO called Sanctuary DMV showed up and told the migrants they would be going to a local church. Muriel Bowser, we know, declared a public emergency last week over the buses of migrants that continued to arrive from Arizona and Texas. Imagine. It's a problem. Bowser's emergency declaration will set aside funding to accommodate migrants as well as create the Office of Migrant Services. The OMS will be tasked with providing temporary accommodations, urgent medical needs, transportation, and other services for migrants.
I'm telling you, these governors are going to get a knock on their door from the FBI. They better be careful.
Why?
You don't think? I'm just making the FBI joke that they're going to come to DeSantis and Abbott, and they're going to start knocking on the governor's doors and taking their cell phones.
I wish.
There's going to be some raids.
I wish, like a signal not noise over here on Getter. I wish. We want payback. Same 4 a.m. raids, same leg irons and cuffs. That's right. Let's go to New York, shall we? When it comes to illegals, Mayor Eric Adams there. He said on yesterday, he told reporters that the New York City shelter system was at its, quote, breaking point. And he said that the city's prior practices, which never contemplated the busing of thousands of people into New York City, have to be reassessed. Really?
Okay.
Well, remember, they're putting them up in like 4- and 5-star hotels that I can't afford to stay in New York. Remember the old Milford Plaza? Remember those commercials? Yeah. Lullaby of Broadway. It's Milford Plaza. Remember that one? That song will be in your head all day now.
Oh, it's stuck now, and that's the kind of places they're going in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They redid the whole hotel, and now it's like a 4-star hotel, and rooms are $300 and $400 a night, and that's where they're putting them in these hotels. So
that's not
originally, go ahead.
No, that's not government waste or anything.
No.
Could have been a more adequate place, but okay.
So he said that we have to reassess policies. So then people started speculating that he was talking about a 1981 agreement called Right to Shelter that guarantees anyone without a place to sleep a bed in New York City, which, by the way, I did not know this existed, because if I knew this existed, why would I pay for a hotel room?
Right.
Sorry, and I don't know where you go. I'll have to find out where you have to go to say I have a guaranteed right to shelter. With my luck, I'm not gonna end up in the old Milford Plaza. I'm gonna wind up in like some homeless shelter where somebody steals my shoes. While I'm sleeping on a cot in the middle of the night.
Joe's Motel in Queens.
Exactly. I'll wind up in the Bronx.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Kamala Harris, you won't go to the border. We'll bring it to you. Brilliant, because she won't go to the border. That's brilliant, Ron.
El Presidente.
Excuse me. Okay, so he then walked his statement then back today because of the speculation. He said every asylum seeker that comes to New York will have shelter. Veterans, homeless American citizens. Sorry.
Yeah,
By
that's what.
law, we're required and we're going to do that. This goes beyond that. What you see today, we're not stopping at the bare minimum of right to shelter. We're going beyond that to make sure people have a right to a decent life here in our city. And so we're going to meet our challenge if it means opening more emergency shelters. The chief counsel to the mayor is named Brendan McGuire and said the right to shelter was developed for the average homeless population, not an influx of migrants. Aw, that's too bad.
It is.
Adams said the Republican Party, they've created a blueprint that all of them are starting to follow. It's inhumane for the governor to send immigrants to Martha's Vineyard without any coordination. It's just creating a real crisis that we shared to our lawmakers in Washington. This is a blueprint that you're seeing unfolding. They're just copying what Joe Biden did last year. Joe Biden took these people and flew them to all these Republican states and all these suburbs with no warning. They're doing exactly what Joe Biden did, and now the Democrats are upset with it. It's inhumane. It wasn't inhumane when he did it. Ed here. Oh, real Ed Shearer's back. He said after a 5-week absence, he has returned. Yes, Ed is still alive. Yay! Glad you're back, Ed, and hope your absence.
Welcome back, buddy.
Yeah, I hope the absence, Ed, was a good thing and not like you were sick or detained or deployed somewhere.
Do you currently have a cell phone, or is it missing?
Does the government
Somebody
have
take
your
it.
cell phone?
Yeah. Just checking.
I'm going to start a burner business for Republicans.
I like it.
All right, one more story about immigrants. Governor Pritzker, the Democrat governor of Illinois, he's not happy either. Yesterday, he issued an emergency disaster proclamation after several hundred illegal immigrants were bused to Illinois. He issued an executive order to send 75 members of the state National Guard to assist in making sure, excuse me, I have the hiccups. I had them all day. All state resources are available to support asylum seekers. Oh, crap. Asylum seekers arriving daily to Chicago from the state of Texas. I have the hiccups.
Hey, I'm sorry, Texas, but these people are very inconvenient for my state right now, and I'm not really having a good time with this. So you're very much inconveniencing us.
Trying to get rid of my hiccups.
I thought I'd help you out there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It started this morning, and I've learned that I have to hold my breath and I push it down.
Oof. Good times.
The order also enables the Illinois Emergency Management Agency and other state agencies in close coordination with the city of Chicago, Cook County, and other local governments to ensure individuals and families receive the assistance they need. This includes transport, emergency shelter and housing, food, health screenings, medical assessments, treatments, and other necessary care and services. Weird, excuse me, because I wonder if the Americans who are homeless get those services from the state of Illinois.
I'm gonna take a guess here.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No. Homeless pets. Nope.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Let's see. And he criticized Abbott. He criticizes the governors instead of focusing on the problem, which is the border, for some reason. Instead of criticizing the open border, he's criticizing the governors who are sharing the problem. And lastly, before we go, a piece of news about CNN. They're stumbling into journalism over on CNN.
Yeah.
Don Lemon, who is just insufferable. He has been accused of sexual misconduct, as we all know, but he's still there, still manages to keep his job. He had a show that aired from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern, and it's been canceled. So the cancellation starts sometime next month. He had very low ratings, as we know. So has not been fired, though, because he's not going to be fired because he's black and gay. So he checks 2 boxes. Before they get to him, they're going to fire every white person at CNN first before they get to Don Lemon. So he's got some kind of job security there for a while. He's now going to be part of the morning show, New Day, which has lower ratings than his show at night had. Nobody watches CNN's New Day. He will be paired with, it's called The Dead Zone of New Day. He will be paired with Poppy Harlow and Caitlin Collins.
Okay.
So he's a different role at the network. So I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. They call it the failed morning show, and it's one of the rare programs to earn lower ratings than Don Lemon Tonight. So they're going to bring the guy who hosts a lower rated show onto this show.
The bring the ratings up is the logic.
Yeah, and wait, who hosts it currently? I think it's Brianna Keeler, and oh, that's the wrong story. Where'd it go?
Hey, are they going to go to news between 10 and 12 and just do news? Because that would be nice.
Yeah,
Can
but
you imagine if they actually stumble into journalism? That'd be fantastic. If this just
they try
news
now,
again.
right? They try now. Yeah, it's currently Brianna Keeler and John Berman. They're gone, so they're fine. They're gone.
The new owner did have a thing where he didn't want it to be supposedly be a left-leaning or right-leaning news station. It was just going to be a news station. It was just going to put out news. And maybe it's the slow walk to get there.
But here's the thing:
I don't know.
Don Lemon is so far to the left. He has said so many things that are just absolutely false. He is so stinking far to the left. It's ridiculous.
Like you said, his show is low rated, and now they're going to dump him in the morning show. And if he doesn't succeed in a morning show, there's your out to say, "Hey, we're just canceling the morning show out."
And Ed says Lemon says morning will take the morning show, will tank the morning show too. Night or day, no one will watch. But here's the thing: is I understand what you're saying, and that's what this guy says he's going to do. But he's not getting rid of Don Lemon, who has a lower rated show than the morning show. He's putting him on the mornings, and the two who were hosting it, Brianna Keeler and John Berman, weren't fired. They're going to have different roles at the network. I mean, they're just, is it me or are they shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic here?
Seemingly, yeah.
Right? Get rid of the hacks. If you don't want it to be a left-wing hack station because it's not working for you all day long, all they do is Trump, 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 Trump. Get rid of them. If you have a product, and if you have people on the air who are reporting things that are absolutely false, and they have a new show. Have you seen they have a new show? I forget what it's called. And our timekeeper wants us to know that it's 8:15. Thank you, Al. It's 8:16 now. I forget what the new show is called, but they do it once a week, and it's called the Roundup, whatever. And what it basically is CNN's mea culpa. It's stories that they were in a rush to report, and then they give you the update to stories that we reported previously that they were wrong on.
Sounds exciting.
So I would watch it because I think it's going to be hilarious. But my point is, well, maybe you shouldn't need a show like that. Like maybe you should get it right the first time and not need a show called Mea Culpa, like oops, our bad. I mean,
that sounds so unjournalistic. Oh, God.
That's what they should call it. Oops, our bad.
So in more stories we screwed up this week.
Exactly. I can't remember. If anybody knows the name of it, you can put it in the comments. Anyway. So all right. So please, I'll put all the links on the page. Please, if you have not done so, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the podcast. We appreciate that so much. It really helps. You have no idea how much it helps. Next week, I don't know if I'm going to be here. Probably not. I will do my best, though. If I am going to be here, if we're going to do a podcast, I will do my best to let you know that ahead of time. I'll try to get it up on Facebook and Twitter and Getter and all those places. I'll try to do that. It all depends on my internet connection where I'm going to be. So, and that's a crapshoot. I have no idea. So if I will have internet then there.
I'm both excited and going to be sad.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
You could be in a place with no internet. Sounds amazing.
Well, we'll be this time next week. I will be in Sandpoint, Idaho.
Okay.
So there's probably internet there because Sandpoint's pretty big. Like if I was in Butte or Whitefish, something like that,
nothing yet.
That's earlier in the trip, so I definitely probably wouldn't have really good internet, good enough to be able to do the show.
Right.
So Oliver, stop it! Hey, hold on, knock it off.
Cats.
Well, we have some chairs here and he's scratching the hell out of them. So I have to throw, so he doesn't stop. So I had to throw something at him. Sorry. All right. On that note, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you. You know, we love you and you guys are fantastic. James, I'm so glad you're back. Take care of your back. Please
I will.
strengthen your abs, please. Okay.
Yeah, core, right? That we were saying in the texting. Yeah, it's all about the core.
All about the core. And the FBI knows that because it was in our text messages. So there you
It really
go.
was.
All right, everyone. Have a great week. Thank you so much for joining us. Mwah. Love you. Thank you for your support.
You too.